Global leaders, including those from China, the EU, Australia, and Canada, are expressing growing concerns over Trump's upcoming trade levies, fearing the onset of a global trade war. China continues discussions with the US on trade issues following new tariffs. It calls for fair consultations and urges the US to correct its trade practices. Beijing emphasized the need for the US to correct its wrong practices in trade. This is what the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson has said.
正如我刚才回应的，贸易战、关税战没有赢家，保护主义没有出路。现在美方需要做的是纠正错误做法，以平等、尊重、互惠的方式，同包括中国在内的世界各国通过磋商解决经贸分歧。
Thailand's Prime Minister Shinawatra stated the country has a strong plan to manage the 36% US tariffs and hopes to negotiate a reduction, aiming to minimize the economic impact. Here's what Thailand's Prime Minister has said.
แล้วก็แต่ว่ามาตรการต่างๆเตรียมไว้แล้วค่ะแล้วก็มีมาตรการเตรียมที่แก้ไขปัญหาเบื้องต้นแล้วก็มาตรการในการคุยกันต่อด้วยว่ายังไงจริงแล้วเนี่ยมันได้บ้างนะคะแต่ว่าในรายละเอียดมีคุยกันแล้วเมื่อเช้าด้วยแล้วก็จริงๆเราเตรียมมาสักพักแล้วที่บอกว่าตั้งคณะทำงานนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นก็ไม่ต้องห่วงในเรื่องนี้เพราะว่ามีหลายสเต็ปที่เราเตรียมไว้ค่ะ
UK Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds announced plans to negotiate a trade deal to ease the impact of Trump's 10% tariffs on British goods. The aim is to reduce the economic strain caused by the tariffs. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz criticized US tariffs as fundamentally wrong and an attack on the global trade order, but stated Europe remains open to further talks to resolve the trade conflict. Listen in to what he has said.
Die jüngsten Zollentscheidungen des US-Präsidenten halte ich für grundfalsch. Das ist ein Anschlag auf eine Handelsordnung, die Wohlstand überall auf dem Globus geschaffen hat. Eine Handelsordnung, die ganz wesentlich auch das Ergebnis amerikanischer Bemühungen ist.
Australian Prime Minister Albanese and his rival Peter Dutton vowed to protect national interests amid potential US tariffs on Australian beef. While rejecting retaliatory tariffs, Australia focuses on expanding exports to Southeast Asia and India, despite US criticism of its tech laws and beef ban. Here is what he said.
This is why our government will not be seeking to impose reciprocal tariffs. We will not join a race to the bottom that leads to higher prices and slower growth. We will stand up for Australia. We will continue to make the strongest case for these unjustified tariffs to be removed from our exporters. Our existing free trade agreement with the United States contains dispute resolution mechanisms. We want to resolve this issue without resorting to using these, as we do support continued constructive engagement with our friends in the United States.
Colombia's foreign minister highlighted the country's US market competitiveness despite Trump's 10% tariff, while President Petro criticized it, advocating for job-focused tariffs. European politicians and a German industry group criticized US tariffs, with the EU and UK seeking measured responses to protect their economies. Here is what Ursula von der Leyen, European Commission President, has said.
President Trump's announcement of universal tariffs on the whole world, including the European Union, is a major blow to the world economy. I deeply regret this choice. Let's be clear-eyed about the immense consequences. The global economy will massively suffer. Uncertainty will spiral and trigger the rise of further protectionism. The consequences will be dire for millions of people around the globe, also for the most vulnerable countries, which are now subject to some of the highest US tariffs.
Brazil is considering responses to the US's 10% tariffs, including using the World Trade Organization for defense and a potential trade retaliation framework. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney vowed countermeasures to protect Canadian workers from existing and new US tariffs, while Japan's trade minister expressed regret over the US's 24% tariffs, warning of negative impacts on both economies and potential violations of WTO rules. A senior Indian official stated that the Commerce Ministry is assessing the mixed impact of US tariffs, not viewing it as a major setback, while Taiwan's cabinet criticized the 32% tariffs as unreasonable. and vowed to address the issue with the US, with both nations potentially implementing countermeasures that could reshape global trade strategies. Bureau Report, NewsX World.